What you are about to hear in the next few minutes will destroy everything you believe about who you are. Now I will reveal to you a secret known only to the great masters of antiquity, a secret that allowed them to become gods among mortals. Not through years of exhausting labor, not through painful self-overcoming, but through one simple action that triggers a chain reaction of complete rebirth. Napoleon used it to conquer Europe, Leonardo da Vinci to become a universal genius, Buddha to reach enlightenment. At the end, you will receive a secret practice of transformation that will change your reality in 21 days. But first, I must destroy the most dangerous lie that keeps you trapped in the cage of weakness. I warn you, after these words, you will no longer be able to justify your limitations. This knowledge will burn all your excuses to ashes. Let's begin. All your life, you've been told the most destructive lie in human history. You are who you are. Accept it. This lie turned gods into slaves. It forced billions of people to live tiny lives, satisfied with mere crumbs of what they could have had. Listen carefully. You don't have a fixed personality. What you call yourself is just a set of habits you've repeated so many times that you started believing in their reality. You are not shy. You just acted shy thousands of times. You are not weak. You behaved like a weak person for years. You are not a failure. You simply thought like a failure for most of your life. Every second you recreate yourself. But the problem is, you keep creating the same thing. Neuroscience and the illusion of I. Here's what is happening in your brain right now. Every one of your actions physically restructures neural connections. Every thought creates new chemical reactions. Every word literally reshapes the structure of your consciousness. Your brain doesn't distinguish reality from a convincing imitation. If you start acting like a confident person, the brain will begin building neural pathways of confidence. If you start speaking like a leader, your nervous system will rewire itself toward leadership qualities. If you start thinking like a genius, your intelligence will physically expand. You literally become whoever you pretend to be long enough. This is not motivation. This is neuroscience. Modern physics has revealed a shocking truth. At the quantum level, particles have no fixed state. They exist in all possible states simultaneously, until observation forces them to collapse into one. Your personality works the same way. You are not strong or weak. You are not smart or stupid. You exist in a state of infinite possibilities. And every time you act in a certain way, you force these possibilities to collapse into a specific reality. Your behavior determines which version of you becomes real. The great ones knew the secret. Do you know what all great people of history had in common? They didn't wait to become great. They started being great immediately. Napoleon began acting like an emperor when he was a nobody. The world bowed before his conviction. Steve Jobs started speaking like a visionary in a garage. Reality adjusted to his vision. Muhammad Ali declared himself the greatest before his first victories. The universe made it true. They understood the most important thing. Being is not a state. It is a decision. Alexander the Great. The decision to become a god. Alexander the Great was only 20 years old when he inherited the throne of a small Greek kingdom. An ordinary young man who could have lived the life of a provincial ruler. But Alexander made a decision that changed the course of history. He decided to become a god. Not metaphorically, literally. He began to act like a deity, speak as the son of Zeus, make decisions from the perspective of an immortal. His generals thought he had lost his mind. But here is what happened. When a man behaves like a god long enough, reality begins to adjust to that behavior. By the age of 30, Alexander had conquered half the known world. His empire stretched from Greece to India. Soldiers followed him into fire because they saw divine power in him. He was not born a god. He decided to become one. Julius Caesar, crossing the Rubicon. Caesar was 40 years old, and he was nobody. A second-rate politician with massive debts. His career was collapsing. It was then that he made a decision that shook Rome. He decided to become the emperor of a republic that did not even recognize an emperor. In 49 BC, he approached the Rubicon, the border that Roman generals were forbidden to cross with an army. To cross it meant declaring war on your own state. Caesar pronounced, "The die is cast," and crossed the river. That was the moment of transformation. In 1 second, he turned from an ordinary politician into a man who challenged the system. His decision physically changed him. Soldiers saw an emperor in him even before he became one. One decision, one action, a new identity. Within 5 years, he conquered all of Gaul, became the dictator of Rome, and altered the course of Western civilization. It all began with the decision to stop being who he was. Genghis Khan, the outcast who became the god of war. In childhood, his name was Temujin. He was an outcast, the son of a murdered chieftain, betrayed by his own clan, living half-starved in the cold steppes. At 17, he was nobody, a nomad without a tribe, without horses, without a future. But it was then that Temujin made a decision that shook the earth. He told himself, "I will become the ruler of the world, not the leader of a clan, not the Khan of a tribe, but the master of all peoples under the sky." He began speaking to people as if they were subjects of his future empire, planning as a conqueror of continents, thinking as a man destined to rule everything. At first, people laughed. Then they began to listen. Then they began to follow. Within 20 years, the outcast had become Genghis Khan, the creator of the greatest empire in human history. His armies stretched from Korea to Poland. Every 7th person alive today carries his genes. The outcast became the god of war because he decided to be. Napoleon, the inner revolution. Napoleon was born on Corsica into the family of a minor noble. Short, with a heavy accent, he was mocked at military academy. At 25, he was nobody, an unemployed artillery officer with no prospects. France was boiling after the revolution. The old world had collapsed. The new one had not yet been born. And it was then that Napoleon carried out his inner revolution. He saw himself as emperor of Europe. He didn't hope to become one. He didn't dream to become one. He saw himself already as one. He began acting from that vision. He said, "I see only the goal. Obstacles must disappear." His will was so concentrated that reality itself could not resist. Within 15 years, he redrew the map of Europe. Kings bowed before the Corsican upstart. His laws still function in half the world today. When asked about the secret of his success, he replied, "I never doubted who I was. Doubt kills emperors." Buddha, the birth of the awakened. Prince Siddhartha lived in luxury. He knew no suffering. He had everything a man could dream of. But at 29, he first saw old age, sickness, and death. Then he made a decision that shook the very foundations of reality. He decided to become enlightened. He left the palace, his family, his wealth. For 6 years, he practiced asceticism, bringing his body to exhaustion. But enlightenment never came. Then he realized, enlightenment is not a state to be achieved. It is a decision to be made. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree and said, I will not rise from here until I become the Buddha. At that moment, the transformation was instant. Siddhartha died. The Buddha was born. His teaching transformed the lives of billions for the next 2,500 years. Parallels in cultures, the same principle. What Buddha, Alexander, Caesar, Genghis Khan, and Napoleon did was not unique. All great traditions knew this secret. The samurai of Japan taught, you are already dead when you go into battle. This was not a metaphor, but a practice. A samurai decided his life was already given away. In that moment, fear disappeared, and he became the embodiment of resolve. The Sufis of the East said, die before you die. It meant to renounce the old self while still alive, to be reborn into a new identity. Christian monks repeated, deny yourself and you will gain eternal life. This too is a formula of the quantum leap. The Stoics of ancient Rome taught, everything that happens to you is material for your transformation. Seneca wrote, we are not weak. We decided to be weak. The shamans of the Americas underwent rituals of symbolic death. In trance, they died to the old world and returned with new strength, a new spirit. Every culture, every practice points to the same principle. The old self must die for the new one to be born. The instant transition. None of the great ones waited to become worthy of greatness. Alexander did not wait to earn the right to be a god. Caesar did not wait for the Republic to recognize him as emperor. Genghis Khan did not wait for circumstances to make him Khan. Napoleon did not wait for permission to crown himself. Buddha did not wait for enlightenment to come by itself. They made the decision and began being the ones they chose to be. Immediately, the world resisted. People laughed. Circumstances stood against them. But they continued, and reality eventually yielded to their conviction. Greatness is not a reward for merits. It is the consequence of a decision. The quantum leap of consciousness. Each of them had a moment that can be called a quantum leap. For Alexander, when he first called himself the son of Zeus. For Caesar, when he stepped into the waters of the Rubicon. For Genghis Khan, when he first declared, I will be the ruler of the world. For Napoleon, when he saw the crown and said, that is my crown. For Buddha, when he said, I am the awakening. It was not gradual development, but an instant switch of identity. In 1 second, the old self died. The new one was born. The energy of a new identity. After the moment of decision, radical changes occurred in their energetic field. People began to perceive them differently. Soldiers were ready to die for them. Enemies felt an inexplicable fear. Allies experienced a magnetic pull. This was not charisma. It was a shift in the frequency of consciousness. When a person fully accepts a new identity, they begin to radiate an entirely different energy. This energy influences the subconscious of others, forcing them to see in that person exactly who he has declared himself to be. After transformation, events began to occur in their lives that ordinary people call miracles or coincidences. Alexander always won, even when the odds were against him. Caesar found a way out of hopeless situations. Genghis Khan received information about his enemies as if the very air whispered to him. Napoleon achieved victories against overwhelming forces. Buddha met disciples in places where no one was seeking truth. But these were not coincidences. This is the law of resonance at the quantum level. A transformed consciousness begins to attract events that support the new identity. The alchemy of the body. When you decide to become a different person and begin acting accordingly, a biochemical revolution occurs in your body. Testosterone rises, and your confidence is felt by everyone around you. Cortisol falls, and fear no longer controls your body. Dopamine floods the motivation centers, and you suddenly have the energy to act. Serotonin reinforces inner strength, and your gaze becomes calm and steady. Your posture straightens automatically. Your voice becomes deeper and more assured. Your eyes gain magnetism. Your movements are filled with strength. You are literally reborn on a cellular level, and people sense it instinctively. They begin to treat you as the person you have become. This triggers a chain reaction of changes in your entire reality. Alchemists and the Philosopher's Stone. The ancient alchemists sought the Philosopher's Stone, a substance that could turn metal into gold. They did not realize that this stone had always been inside their consciousness. The Philosopher's Stone is the decision to become who you want to be, followed by actions consistent with that decision. In China, Taoist masters taught, true gold is born in the heart of the student when he kills the illusion of the old self. In India, yogis said, the Atman is never born and never dies, but a man is reborn when he discovers the Atman. In Egypt, the priests of Isis held mysteries where the initiate would symbolically die and resurrect, to be reborn as a new person. All these traditions were simply reflections of the same process, the death of the old identity and the birth of the new. The 3 stages of transformation. The process of rebirth always passes through 3 stages. Burning the past, the old self dies in the fire of awareness. This is the moment when all excuses collapse and you can no longer hide. The chaos of rebirth. You don't know who you are. You are between worlds. The most dangerous stage. Many give up here because the emptiness is terrifying. Crystallization of the new self, the new I, becomes your natural state, and you can no longer go back. This is not theory. This is the universal law of inner alchemy. The timeline of change. First week, you feel like an actor. Everything seems like a performance. First month, the new behavior becomes habitual. By the 3rd month, you forget who you used to be. By the 6th month, people no longer recognize the old you. After a year, you become living proof of the power of human will. But there is a price. The price of transformation. When you become strong, you can no longer be a victim. You can no longer blame others. You can no longer hide behind excuses. You become fully responsible for your life. Most people prefer to remain weak, to keep the right to complain. But you are listening to these words. That means you are not like most. The voices of the old self. In the process of change, you will face inner demons. They will whisper to you, why bother with all this? They will push you to go back. They will convince you that you are too weak, too tired, too busy. These are not your true thoughts. These are the voices of the dying old self. Every fear, every resistance is just the death throes of who you no longer want to be. If you overcome this darkness, you will become the light. The formula of instant transformation. It is simple. Decide who you want to be. Start being that person right now. Not tomorrow. Not on Monday. Now. Ignore the inner voice of resistance. Continue to act as the new person, and reality will reconfigure itself around your new identity. The quantum field of infinite possibilities. The reality around you is not a fixed decoration. It is a quantum field of infinite possibilities, responding to the frequency of your consciousness. When you change, new people appear in your life. New opportunities materialize out of nowhere. Old problems dissolve. Coincidences become miracles. The universe does not ask your permission for greatness. It simply responds to your inner state. The secret practice, 21 days of rebirth. This practice was used by the masters of antiquity for instant transformation of consciousness. It is simple, but it requires determination. Preparation, the death of the old self. For the first 3 days, dedicate yourself to a ritual of release. Write down all your weaknesses and limitations. Read aloud. This person is dead. I am no longer him. Burn the list. Spend a day in silence, letting go of the past. This is your personal funeral rite for the old self. Week 1. Destruction. Every morning ask, who do I choose to be today? Reject 3 habits of your old self. Each day, do something your old you would never have done. Change your walk, your voice, your gestures. You are breaking the shell of the past. Week 2. Construction. Live as the new identity. Speak to 5 strangers the way they knew you would. Make one important decision from the position of the new self. Change your appearance, clothes, hairstyle, style. You are building reality around yourself as an architect. Week 3. Anchoring. Do something that radically changes your status. Announce your transformation to those close to you. Take on a new responsibility. Write down all the changes that have already occurred. This is the moment when the new identity becomes your natural state. The final ritual of activation. At the end of 21 days, perform a 15-minute ritual. Stand before a mirror. Take 3 deep breaths. Feel the energy of your new self. For 10 minutes, look into your own eyes and repeat. I am a new, reborn person. I accept my power. I am no longer who I was. I am who I have chosen to become. My transformation is complete. I am born again. End with a gesture of power, raised arms, or a clenched fist. This anchors the new frequency of consciousness. Trials and resistance. If you feel inner resistance, it is normal. The old identity is fighting for survival. If others do not accept your changes, it is their fear of their own transformation. Do not explain. Do not justify. Continue acting as the new self. The moment of choice. You will know your transformation is complete when old problems seem childish. People ask, what happened to you? New opportunities appear as if out of thin air. You yourself forget who you used to be. Now you stand at the threshold. Behind you lies the safe cage of a familiar life. Ahead of you, infinite possibilities. You can remain who you were, and a year from now regret the chance you lost. Or you can begin the practice right now, and in 21 days awaken as a different person. A year from now, you will regret only one thing, that you didn't start sooner. The last word. The great ones do not wait for the perfect moment. They create it. Your moment is now. Remember, you are not changing yourself. You are becoming who you were always meant to be. The transformation began the moment you heard my first word. Welcome to your new life.